You're listening to Ireland's Aviation Podcast.
Welcome to the news episode of Squawk 7000. On this week's podcast, Canadian airline WestJet announces a new Dublin service, Emerald Airlines to lease 4 more ATR 72s, and we talk to one of the organisers of the recently announced Kinsale Aviation Festival.
Canadian airline WestJet has announced a new direct service from Toronto to Dublin starting on the 15th of May next year. The new service will operate 4 times per week, increasing to a daily service from the 2nd of June, and will reduce to a 4 times a week schedule in October 2022. Flights will be operated by the Boeing 737 MAX that features the airline's new redesigned premium cabin that includes a wider 2x2 seat configuration. WestJet previously operated seasonal services to Dublin from Halifax since 2014 and Calgary since 2019, but both routes were suspended due to the pandemic.
Ireland's newest airline, Emerald Airlines, has said that it has committed to lease 4 ATR 72-600 aircraft from Nordic Aviation Capital. Emerald Airlines has been granted the exclusive franchise for the Aer Lingus regional route network from the 1st of January 2023 until the end of 2032. The airline continues to work closely with Aer Lingus to evaluate options concerning an earlier contract start date. Just last month, Emerald Airlines also received its Air Operator Certificate from the IAA, proving its fitness to fly capability.
Leasing company Avolon has announced a partnership with Israel Aerospace Industries to commit to 30 Airbus A330-300 passenger to freighter conversion slots between 2025 and 2028. The signing of the agreement between Avolon and IAI, the first customer for cargo conversions of this aircraft model, follows the projected doubling of cargo aircraft traffic in the next 20 years due to increased e-commerce. Avolon will be IAI's launch customer for their Airbus A330-300 freighter conversion programme. The converted model will increase cargo volume capacity with up to 27 main deck pallet positions. The A330-300 P2F will have a range of over 3,600 nautical miles at the maximum payload of 61 tonnes.
Dublin-based aviation leasing company Genesis Aviation has announced that it has agreed with Boeing to convert 2 737-800 aircraft into freighters. The first will be completed and ready to enter into service in spring 2022, with a second aircraft ready to enter operations in early 2023. This will allow Genesis to take advantage of the rapidly expanding global e-commerce market. The company has a portfolio of 71 owned and managed Boeing and Airbus aircraft, spread across 32 customers around the globe. Genesis was established in 2014 by the global financial services firm Barings.
This week, Cork Airport will mark its 60th anniversary, and over the last week on the Flying in Ireland website, Gabriel Desmond has been sharing a selection of photos of interesting visitors to the airport over the years. In part 4, published this weekend, you'll see photos of the Air Cork Fuga Magisters, Aer Lingus' promotional tour of Cork and their new A330 in 1994, and the humble beginnings of Ryanair's operation at Cork in 1987.
The Dutch Navy Amphibious Operations Support Ship, NHLMS Karel Doorman, berthed in Cove on the 3rd of October with 3 helicopters on deck, 2 AS-532 Cougars and an NH-90. This ship is the largest in the Royal Netherlands Navy and is also used by the German Navy. It's 204 metres long, with a long aft deck running over half the ship's length, and has space for launching or recovering 2 helicopters simultaneously. The ship has hangarage for 6 helicopters and carries landing craft that can be recovered by crane or through the stern dock. It has a roll-on, roll-off ramp for military vehicles of all kinds. Its roles are carrying and supporting amphibious troops and stores for fleet replenishment at sea. The Dutch Air Force have 12 of the military version of the Super Puma, which can also carry 20 troops. Roles are transport and combat search and rescue. The NH-90 is the navalised version, and its roles are anti-shipping, anti-submarine warfare, and transport and search and rescue.
GoShock has announced that its first lease agreement has just been signed with Lufthansa for the delivery of an Airbus A350-900 in early 2022. The deal with GoShock is just one of 3 announced by Lufthansa for a total of 4 additional Airbus A350 aircraft to bring the fleet to 21 by early 2022. The other aircraft are to be acquired with deals through SMBC, Aviation Capital and Avolon. All 3 companies are Irish-based.
Kinsale's inaugural Aviation Festival, established to promote Ireland's rich and extensive aviation history, will take place on Saturday and Sunday, November 27th and 28th. The event is being organised by the Flying Poet Aviation Cafe and Bookshop in Kinsale and supported by the Irish Historic Flight Foundation, Goodbody Stockbrokers and Avolon. We spoke with one of the organisers, Joe Gill, who gave us a background to the event.
So this is an initiative that was started with Paolo, who I think you've interviewed before in the Flying Post Cafe and Bookshop. He and I had a conversation about how we could promote something that would discuss and advocate, if you'd like, on behalf of the history of aviation in Ireland and its role in the development of commercial aviation particularly. And I think a number of other people agree that there's a kind of a rich history of initiative and technological advances over the last 100 years in which Ireland has been heavily involved. And out of that, we thought it would be a good idea to organise a gathering of people who are interested in that subject, and we came up with the idea of an aviation festival, which sounds probably a bit more grandiose than what it actually is. The intention is to have a kind of a 2-hour session on November 27th on a Saturday afternoon in Kinsale in the Yacht Club, where we will have a number of presentations on the history of aviation in Ireland and what's going on in aviation today and looking into the future. And then the delegates will disperse to a number of bars and restaurants in Kinsale, which, as you know, is the culinary capital of Ireland, have a social evening there. And the following day, there's going to be a get-together in Paolo's cafe for anybody who can turn up. There's a number of aviation-themed books, models, memorabilia, and so on available at that venue on the day. So it's literally a 24-hour event. We launched it earlier this week. We've had a very strong response to it so far. We can kind of handle about 100 delegates in the Kinsale Yacht Club for the event, and we already have about 50 tickets sold, so it's going quite well. I think if it allows people to share their views and have debates about the role that Ireland has played in the aviation industry, and then looking forward what type of a role it could play in the future, they would be very good outcomes. So it'll come down to the type of people who attend and contribute to it. Got a number of elements in the festival that hopefully will stimulate some of that debate. So there's going to be a presentation explaining how Ireland has played a key role in the history of commercial aviation going right back to 1919 and onwards in a number of breakthrough flights, political decisions, the development of the aircraft leasing industry in Ireland and so forth, but also looking forward. So, for example, one of the kind of mega themes in aviation at the moment is the whole area of electric vertical takeoff and landing air taxis. There's a huge amount of capital being deployed behind that. It's playing into the whole theme of sustainable aviation, and the third largest aircraft leasing company in the world, Avolon, is sponsoring this festival, and they have ordered 500 of these air taxis, and the project leader of that is going to attend the festival and explain to the delegates what that's all about, because it sounds a little bit like science fiction, but actually it's probably far more proximate than we envisage. And we have a couple of other content items in the festival that we'll be revealing over the coming weeks that should make it even more interesting.
And you can hear a longer version of that conversation on our long final episode, out also this week. We'll be back in a moment with more aviation news after this short break.
On Thursday evening, the IAA published the Airspace Change proposal for the regional airports, which has been met with widespread disappointment by the industry. The existing proposal appears to have ignored most of the stakeholder feedback, with no reduction in control zone sizes and large increases in control areas, particularly at Waterford. A workshop using Microsoft Teams will be held on Thursday the 21st of October. The time is still to be confirmed, but we'll publish it on the Flying in Ireland events list as soon as it's available. Comments from the 7th of October updated Airspace Change proposal shall be accepted up to close of business on Thursday the 4th of November, with the final airspace published on Thursday the 2nd of December for viewing. It's planned that these changes will take effect from the 24th of February next year.
Thanks, Mark, and you can find these stories and more on flyinginireland.com. And a reminder that you can listen to our long final edition. This week, as I mentioned, we're speaking with Joe Gill. You'll find it wherever you get your podcasts and on our site, squawk7000.ie. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to get the latest news first.
To get the news first, subscribe now to Squawk 7000 on your favourite podcast platform.